Hey everybody. Today's episode is with Tabitha Morris, a woman who in June posted a video on Facebook of herself critiquing the Black Lives Matter movement. She was subsequently attacked and targeted by activists who got her fired from her job of 20 years. Since Tabitha was fired, she's been campaigning to end AtWill Employment, which means that in many instances, an employer can fire an employee for any reason that they want. This is an issue that Tabitha and I were able to see common ground on because this affects all people who are in danger of losing their jobs when the mob decides that they've said something undesirable or unforgivable. So if you are apt to think that Tabitha deserved what she got or should be canceled, I just ask you to listen to her words and listen to her story. So here it is, my interview with Tabitha. So Tabitha, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
So can we start by just setting the scene a little bit? You made a video in June of this year talking about how you don't agree politically with the Black Lives Matter movement. This video went viral. It made people really angry.
Yes.
You got harassed and you ended up getting fired. So tell us about this June for you. What happened?
Well, I was already on furlough, and I had been for about a month due to COVID. And I work at a local hospital, which actually has hospitals in several different states. But I'm a very political person. I am conservative. I tend to speak what's on my mind. And I've done a lot of videos on Facebook almost a year before this happened. Never had any problem. One of the issues that I have previously talked about was one of the things that you're big on, which is the identity politics, which I agree with you on. But this particular day, this is after the riots had started. This is after the George Floyd killing. And I was just really fired up and angry. A part of me felt like white people were now being discriminated against, particularly white conservatives. And everything that I'd seen on TV that day was about Black Lives Matter, which the sentiment, Black Lives Matter, I don't know anyone that disagrees with that. Of course, Black Lives Matter. My issue is with the organization. I don't stand for what they stand for, what their ideology is. I don't believe it will help the Black community at all. Quite the opposite. So this particular day, I get on Facebook, and I will admit I should have used a different tone. I was angry. But the things that I said on this video were not racist. They were facts. It was the truth. And a lot of times, especially in this day and age, people don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. And if you don't agree with them, you're done with. So when I did this video, by the next morning, it went viral. I later found out that because I couldn't understand how did this happen so fast. I'm not somebody, that's a big celebrity. I'm a nobody. I later found out that what had happened was there are Facebook groups that are actually dedicated. One of them was named, I Get My Kinks from Getting White People Fired. There's lots of these groups with thousands of members in them. And this is what they do all day. And they will find people on Facebook who say anything that is negative to the BLM movement or even to leftist ideology. They will then screenshot your profile. If you don't have where you work on your profile, which I did not, they will figure it out. They will look online until they figure out where you work, and then they will, by the thousands, start calling your employer and demanding that you be fired, or they will protest your business or whatever, which is what happened to me.
So do you have any idea how many people protested your business? Like how many people complained about you?
From what I was told, there was well over 1,000 phone calls and emails within a day to 2 days.
Okay. And then what was your boss's reaction? How did they handle it?
Well, I actually worked for a corporation. So it's not like just a small private business where you have one boss or an owner. I got a call that very next day from the HR department in Louisville. And they said, it was a very short conversation, and I was caught off guard because, like I said, I've done these videos before, never been an issue. And she said, did you make a video and put it on Facebook? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, we've had a lot of complaints about this video, and so this is going to be under investigation. And I said, well, wait a minute. Are you saying there's a chance I may be fired? And she said, well, we don't know about that yet, but we're going to investigate this and we'll let you know. That was it. By this point, which the name of the place, I don't mind saying, is Baptist Health in Paducah. They had, by this point, placed on their Facebook page, due to the demands of these BLM supporters, that essentially they had an employee that made statements that went against their values, and that they would not condone any form of racism or discrimination. Nothing that I said was racist, but as you know, anything to these people can be racist. So the very next day, I get another phone call from the HR department, and they tell me that not because of the statements I made, but because the video got so much attention and there were threats of protest, they were firing me. I was terminated immediately.
Okay, so not because of anything you said. Is that what you just said? It wasn't because of anything you said in the video?
Correct. Okay. They didn't fire me because of the video or because of the things I said in the video. They fired me because of the pressure and blackmailing, essentially, from these BLM supporters. Because they even after I was terminated, that wasn't good enough for these people. They also demanded that Baptist Health to post my termination publicly, or they would keep on. They wouldn't stop. So again, that day after I was terminated, they made another post on their Facebook page stating that, this employee no longer works with us, and that, again, racism and discrimination is not tolerated. So essentially, they labeled me a racist.
And did you ever get a chance to defend yourself to your company? Did they give you a chance to respond?
No. Like I said, I was on furlough. They did not call me in to have a meeting. They didn't, call me in to terminate me. This was all done by phone. Probably less than a minute phone calls, and my 20-year career was over.
Wow. And then what has it been like for you since then?
Well, after this, I was on the Todd Starnes radio show. He, at that point, this was just a couple of days after my termination, and he told me, look, you need to get a GoFundMe so that, if you obtain an attorney, which you need to find an attorney to represent you, then you'll have some funds in there for that reason. So I started a GoFundMe. Within 2 days, this same supporters had that taken down and all the money refunded. So that was cut off. Over the months, what I have continued to do, and actually my family started getting a little concerned because I spent, from the moment I would wake up till the time I went to bed, on the phone, or I was emailing, messaging, calling, trying to find an attorney, which I still to this day have not. I had one attorney to tell me that he supported the Black Lives Matter organization and virtually hung up on me. I have tried to call.
Did he say anything else? Did he say, why did he say that? Did he, obviously, you said you don't support the movement, but did he believe that you were hateful, or did he say anything else?
No, actually, the reason he said that is because, the normal, and I've gotten used to the normal decline, so I just came out and asked him. I said, he said, well, I can't represent you. And I said, well, if you don't mind me asking, why is that? I keep getting rejected, but why can you not represent me? And his answer was, well, I support the Black Lives Matter organization, so I cannot support you. Okay. I mean, what do you say? I've contacted, I've actually become pretty good friends, actually, with my district state representative here in Kentucky, Richard Heath. I have met with several other of our district's representatives. My hopes, because, I'm still continuing to look for an attorney, but I'll be honest with you, I've kind of lost hope in that. I've even contacted conservative organizations, conservative activists, everyone that I can find to try to help me in some way. I don't want money, but I want to be heard, for one. And two, I want them to realize, because all you hear on the news is celebrities that are being canceled,
right?
Famous people that are being canceled. The story is, it's not just celebrities. It is regular, everyday American people. And we're the ones that we don't have millions of dollars to fall back on. In my personal situation, I worked for this same practice for almost 20 years. I mean, these same doctors, the same practice. I don't have a college degree. I worked from the very bottom of this practice. I got my further education through this practice, hands-on training through this practice. So I went from medical records, making minimum wage, to, by the time I was terminated, I was an optometrist tech, and I was a licensed hearing instrument specialist, and I was making $32.30 an hour. And this was from hard work, dedication for 20 years that within seconds was gone. Mm-hmm. And since then, I have been blackballed. I have tried to apply for different jobs. I know I had such a specific job that it's very difficult in, a city like mine. Paducah's a small city. It's not like Louisville or Lexington. There's not many opportunities for what I have been trained to do for the past 20 years. And so I know that I'm not going to get that pay ever again, but I've tried to even just try to get a job in a doctor's office, just, even front desk reception. I'm blackballed. I don't even get a call back. I was actually told we have 2 hospitals here in Paducah, Baptist, and we have Lourdes. I was told by someone at Lourdes, which I would not name, they kind of pulled me to the side and said, look, here's the deal. Lourdes has already been told that if you try to apply for a job with us, we're not to touch you with a 10-foot pole.
Wow.
So I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry. I'm very angry. And so one of the things that I would love to do that is very important to me is I want to bring attention to the fact that regular, normal, everyday people are being canceled. It's not just celebrities. 2, I've learned a lot about our AtWill employment laws, which every state in the United States, except for one, I believe, that's how we all are, all of our employment laws are when you work for a private company. We have no freedom of speech. We do, in a sense, and people will remind me, well, you can say what you want to say, but there's consequences to it. I have a problem with that. This is what this world has come to, and there's no excuse for it. We used to have dialogue. We used to have conversations, even when we disagreed with each other. That is no longer. Now if you disagree with the narrative, they will ruin your life. That's not acceptable to me. These laws need to be changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that I want to do with this podcast is get to show the stories of people who've been silenced, who've been fired for, speaking, for their speech. And it really doesn't necessarily matter to me what the person said. I mean, I think you and I probably disagree on a lot of political things. I'm, coming from the left, but to me, it's like you're saying, we have to debate, we have to discuss. And right. To shut someone down that you disagree with, it doesn't help prove them wrong in any way. It can often have, a backfiring effect. But, to the people who did get so angry at what you said, what do you think is kind of, for them, what do you think they think they're achieving with their
campaign against people who they disagree with, in terms of just trying to totally decimate their ability to have a platform or a livelihood even?
From what I've been told, and trust me, I have a file on my phone that is actually probably over 1,000 messages and emails of hate and wishing I would die and slit my wrist, horrible things. I've actually been told by them that the reasoning behind this is because they truly believe that I am a racist. They truly believe that I am a Nazi, that I am all of the, adjectives that we've been called. And they feel like they are doing a service to rid the world of racists and Nazis and bad, horrible human beings like myself. I can tell you that the only thing that they are accomplishing is the opposite. Because when you go after someone for stating their feelings or their opinion, you may not agree with it, and that is fine. There's a lot of things I don't agree with. But when you go after someone's livelihood and you go to the point of trying to destroy their life over something they said, you're not going to get them on your side. You're not going to make them realize, oh, maybe I need to take a look at myself, and because that's what they want. They assume that I am a racist, and that if they punish me, then I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to look inside myself and realize my white privilege. It has the opposite effect
of being fired.
Yeah, the privilege of being fired. And realistically, the only thing it does, truthfully, and I am straight off the top, and I hate even saying this because the first thing they say is, well, then that means you are. I am not a racist. I have nothing against Black people. As a matter of fact, the reason I am so against the Black Lives Matter organization is because their very ideals, their very objectives are going to destroy the Black community, not help it. That is so if I didn't care about Black people, I wouldn't care if their community was destroyed. I wouldn't care if they were following this lie narrative.
What do you think are some of the objectives that you see as harmful from BLM?
Number one, this was strictly stated on their website. They do want to defund the police. Some of them want to abolish the police. If you ask any of the Black people in these Black communities in the inner cities, if they want to defund the police, you will get an overwhelming no, because they know. We've already seen it in some of these cities. What happens when you lose police officers? There's no one there to protect you. And look at the murder rate that has went up. Two, they don't appreciate fathers. They have a thing, I don't know what it is. I guess because the leader of this organization is a lesbian. I don't know what her objective is, but they're anti-father. That is one of the biggest problems, not just with the Black community, but in all families in America. It is a proven fact that a mother and a father in a home, your children are going to do much better and have a much better future or chance of a future with a stable family unit. The other big issue is they are pro-abortion. I don't care how you feel about abortion. Some people are for it, some people are not. I happen to not be for abortion, but you look at the amount of, just the amount of Black babies that are aborted every single year. If you care about Black people, how can you sit there and stand and push for more Black babies to be aborted? I can't go for that. The money I have an issue with. There's so many things that they're just the money. Where is the money? All the money, the millions of dollars that they have received in donations. Where is that money went? Because I have not seen any of it go towards the Black communities in which they claim to be for and to help.
So you've got opinions, which are, contentious opinions. I have contentious opinions too that a lot of people disagree with. But what do you think, did that affect the way you did your job? Like, I get that people want to come online and say, oh, you're wrong, and, I'm
Correct.
annoyed about it. But did that actually affect, did your opinions affect the way you did your job?
Oh, no. And like I said, it's hard for people to understand because we have been labeled, conservatives have been labeled that we are racist and we hate Black people. And if you're not for the BLM organization and you don't support it, then you hate Black people and you're racist, when it's actually the contrary. So no, it didn't affect my job because in my practice, I saw my own patients. I had my own schedule. I saw white people, Black people. We have a lot of Mexicans in our area. It didn't matter to me. They're people. I'm not a racist, so therefore it had no impact on how I did my job because I treated everyone the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was listening to another interview with you on YouTube. You mentioned there were even threats against your kids.
Mm-hmm. I've had, yeah, that was the most disturbing, Mm-hmm. Look, I'm a strong woman. I'm very outspoken. I can take care of myself. But that is where I really had an issue because, I of course, I received death threats and horrible things said to me. But then I also had comments made and even some messages sent to my husband, insinuating that my daughters would be raped. Just horrible, disgusting things that I've, even to this day, I'm still getting some. It's lessened, but it was overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's like there's no depth to sort of what they feel they can do behind the anonymity of the keyboard. But so tell me more about the AtWill Employment battle that you've entered, because I think that's a really interesting place to start, the AtWill Employment, because no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, no matter what your views are, no matter what it is that you want to be able to say or how you want to be able to express yourself, that would affect you, right? The AtWill Employment. For me, that affected me. I spoke to a woman named MK Fain recently on the podcast who was fired in a way for what she wrote online about, it was similar to mine. It was gender critical, but it was also because the company kind of wanted to get rid of her because she was sort of like a troublemaker there because she was like standing up to the company for various reasons. But they still used the AtWill Employment, right, to be able to fire her, citing it was because of what she said. Mm-hmm. So tell us more about that battle and what it means to you.
Well, at first, I'll be honest, I was as ignorant as everyone else when it came to our AtWill Employment laws. AtWill Employment, for those that don't know, means that when you work for a private company in the majority of our states, you can be fired for any reason or no reason. And they don't even have to tell you the reason you're fired. A lot of people think, and I had so many people message me after I was terminated and say, you should sue them because, that was a violation of your freedom of speech. Well, here's reality. Reality is freedom of speech. You're allowed to say whatever you want to say, and the government cannot come in your home and arrest you for it. But that's about the limit of where your protection is. Now, some federal and state workers have a little more protection than private employee workers, but essentially, you don't really have protections for your freedom of speech. In my situation, as well as many others, there are in some states, and this is what I'm trying to get at. There are in some states, each state's laws are different. The majority of them are at will, but some states will include protections for your political affiliation or your political beliefs. In Kentucky, we do not have that, which if we had, I would have had a better chance of keeping my job. It's iffy depending on what state you're in. But regardless, when you're an AtWill employee, you don't have the freedom to say what you want, even if you're in your own home, on your own time. They can fire you for no reason. You can come into work wearing the wrong color uniform and your manager just not like it and say, you know what, you're fired. Nothing you can do about it. Which is kind of funny with my situation. This is what I have an argument about. In Kentucky, of course, you cannot, the at-will laws do have some things that they cannot, by law, federal law, cannot fire you for. The Discrimination Act of 1964 protects you from being fired for your race or your gender or whatever. You know those. Some states, like I said, are for political affiliation and opinion. They will protect you. Our state does not. What I would like to change is the fact that, and I've spoken with some of our representatives, which luckily in my state, our legislators primarily Republican. We need to make it to where a private employer or company cannot fire you based on things you say or what you post on social media outside of work hours on your own time or any legal activity. Some states do have these protections. That is what we need. This cancel culture has become almost like a disease. You know, it is being wielded around. Our at-will employment laws are being used against us just for a punishment. This is not what United States is about. Just like I know that you are more on the left, you're not conservative, you're more than likely, I'm assuming, not a Trump fan.
Not so much.
It makes no difference to me, and that's the way it should be. I believe you have every right to say what you want to say on your own time, as well as I do. I don't feel like I should be able to go after your job and destroy your life for something that you believe in. That's your choice. You should be able to express that. We all should, without fear of losing everything. So one of my initiatives is, again, speaking with my representatives, I want to have the at-will laws changed. Of course, it would be ideal if it was a federal law change, but we don't, that's shooting really big. But at least starting out in my own state, we need to have protections for political affiliation, political opinions. We should be protected from our freedom of speech on our own time, off of work hours, or anything of legal activity, period. That will not only protect some of the private employees and give them a little bit more security, but it's also going to protect these companies and businesses, because what has happened now is, you know, I've heard a lot of people tell me, well, I own my own business, so I don't have to worry about what I say on Facebook or Twitter. That's wrong, because now if you don't do what they say, if you happen to say anything or do anything that they disagree with, they will go after your business. Just like Yelp reviews. You know, you have Google reviews, you have Yelp reviews. Yelp is now taking it a step further. So if several people happen to complain on a local mom and pop business and say, well, they're racist, or, you know, they discriminated against me, then Yelp is going to put their own label on your business for everyone to see, labeling you a racist business. Okay, so if these laws were to change and a private employer or business could not terminate an employee for these things, it's also going to protect them, because when these people come after this business and say either you fire her or we're going to protest, we're going to ruin your business, if it's already in the laws, look, there's nothing I can do, it's the law, I can't fire her for this, it cuts them off. It stops it immediately. There's nothing that they can do. So it's going to protect the business and the people who work for the business.
Right. Like if that had been the case, then it's possible that, you know, your employer and my employer could have sort of had a backing behind them to say no to the mob instead of just immediately capitulating. Yeah, I think that the at-will employment is something that people could come together on from different sides of the political spectrum, because it is a way to actually help us engage with each other's ideas. You know, when you get someone canceled, you're kind of effectively preventing engagement between them and the people who were offended by them, because you've deplatformed them or whatever the case may be. So what can we expect to come from this? I mean, what are the next steps for you working on this?
My next step, of course, I've had to kind of put everything on hold because of this election. And to be honest with you, what I will be able to do or not be able to do kind of depends on how this election goes, who gets in office, who runs the House and the Senate. I think that I have a good chance of getting the laws changed in my state currently. As far as the bigger picture, which would come much later, I'm sure, to change the laws federally, to amend this Discrimination Act of 1964 to include these protections, that still is in limbo, just like our election.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tabitha, thank you for joining me. It was really interesting to hear about your story.
Well, I appreciate it.